Hey, what up, guys? Cheese It's Yum Yum here, and I just wanted to give you guys some cheese. All right. So, Necromancer Season 21. Feel like there's a lot of people not really talking about it, but you start with the Inaria set, and it could actually be a really quick start. I personally did not know much about Necromancer coming into this. I'd played it before. In season 17, I did Thorn's Laud Necro, and I think I finished at rank 15 at the end of the season on hardcore. Um, and this would be the second time I've played Necro, which you can see I'm currently rank 1, also in hardcore, by quite the lead. I do also have the fastest clear at the moment from everyone on softcore as well, as you can see. Um, So I had a pretty slow start coming into this. I was playing with a Demon Hunter friend who was, once he got his full set, he just took off. And me, I was just kind of sitting there like, well, I'm still good for, T8. um, and that's with the Anaria set. So what I'm showing you guys here today is basically an Anarius Grim Scythe build. It's basically the Poison Scythe Laud build that everyone's kind of all hyped about this season. It's what everyone's playing. It's what I'm currently playing also on the leaderboards. Um, but the thing is, you literally can play the exact build without changing a single skill and just use the Inarius set instead. And you can't push nearly as high. But I'll show you some footage here in a minute of me doing a Greater Rift 100. I think I did it in about 10 minutes. You can see where my Paragon points lie. I have some points in Vitality. I was just having some survivability issues pushing the higher graders in my push build, so I just threw 400 points in there to help out with that. And now you can see I'm starting to put some in Intelligence. You don't want to put any points in Max Essence. Max Essence doesn't help you really at all. If you want to do it just because you get sick of switching back and forth between, Laud mages and whatnot, then go right ahead. But you don't need to. It doesn't increase your damage at all for this build. Okay, so let me go over what you need to acquire to get this build actually up and running so you can just get straight into T16. Now, full disclaimer, it's not the quickest build. Not at all. Not at all the quickest build. But it'll get you in the door, get you running. So if you want to do some like T16, the version of that, the only thing that I swap out is I put on these Stewart's boots. I just put that there. And I wear the Inarius chest. And that's the only change I made for speeds. Now you're up and running, you're running fast. You can change your gems and put on like Boon of the Hoarder if you want. Yeah, you can kind of do whatever you want with this, but that's what I'm running. That's what I started with anyways. I'm no longer running this. Once you get enough gear to run Laud mages, I strongly suggest switching to that. But today we're talking about this build. So you can see every time I use my my Blood Rush, I get a nice boost of speed, and that's from the Stewart's boots. They give you 100% boost speed, and that'll be your source of moving fast. You can use whatever poison abilities you want. The ones I chose, I have Death Nova with the poison rune Blighter. The rune, literally you're just using it to get your poison buff. And then I also chose Bone Spike with the poison rune, and again, you're just doing it for your poison buff. And you can see, you don't need to hit anything, you just need to press the button. And you see I had 2 stacks down there. And then I used Bone Armor with Dislocation, that's for your 3rd buff. And then your 4th one is Grim Scythe. So you're going to be rocking 4 buffs. Grim Scythe, Cursed Scythe, Bone Spike, Bone Pillar, and if you want to use Command Skeletons, go ahead. If you want to use the Golem, go ahead. You know, use whatever poison abilities you want. You want to use Bone Spear, go ahead. Just make sure they're poisoned. It doesn't matter. Use the mage, go ahead. Use the mage. It doesn't matter. Simulacrum, you definitely want to get Blood and Bone. And you probably don't need to run Final Service. I run Hardcore, so I am definitely running Final Service. And then standalone, I would definitely recommend this. If you're going to run Command Skeletons, I recommend numlocking it, so that way they're constantly just exploding themselves and you're getting a much better benefit out of the standalone. Spreading Malediction is really good. Swift Harvesting is really good. This is exactly what I use when I push, and I don't change anything. One thing that I will change sometimes when I push actually is I will switch Death Nova for Skeletal Mage with the Poison Rune, because I do run the shoulders. Let's see. I do run these shoulders here when I am pushing. But in this build, you don't need to worry about that, so run whatever you want. Okay, so now what you want the full set of Inarius. And what I run two different setups. I basically have the one with the boots, the Stewart's boots, and that's to go fast for a T16. And then if I'm doing like a Greater Rift 100, I'll usually throw on Aquilus and throw the boots back on, and that's it. That's all I've changed. Some things that you can change, because what I have in my cube is just for extra toughness. The Wisdom of Kalan, you don't actually need that. You can put, you can run a Unity if you'd like, if you're doing solo, or you can do a Flavor of Time, or probably the best one would be Convention of Elements. I would say that's probably the one other thing that you can definitely change. Otherwise, Depth Diggers, you're definitely going to want those in the cube, and you're definitely going to want Nair's Black Death in the cube. Let's see. So we got Tragruel's Corroded Fang, and the offhand, the Phylacterium. You definitely need the ledgers. If you do not have the ledgers and the Fang, this set's not going to work. So you need those two things, and then you're going to get your 6-piece set from the Hadrix, the seasonal chapters. Once you complete 1, 2, 3, and 4, you'll have a full set of Inarius. You could also just sort of farm it out, but the reason why I'm bringing up this video is because you can start with that. You can get it very quickly, very easily, and then it'll give you a huge boost in damage. And it plays literally the same as Poison Scythe, so it's just something that I really liked about this build. Anyways, full set of Inarius. Aquilus is what you're going to put in if you're going to be pushing. It's just more toughness. You can change it out if you'd like. I use the Royal Ring because I'm only technically using 5-piece. If you don't have the Royal Ring in the beginning, that's fine. Just throw your chest piece on. It still works. You're still doing it. If you don't have the Wisdom of Kalan, put whatever you've got in there. Like I said, Convention Elements is fine. Flavor of Time is fine. Whatever. But the things that you do need the Fang. You need the Ledgers. You need 5 pieces or 6 pieces of the set. And then you need Haunted Visions. Other than that, anything else, you could use whatever you want. Dainty's Bindings, I strongly recommend because it's just going to be extra toughness. They give you up to 50% damage reduction from cursed enemies, and every enemy you hit with your cursed Scythe will curse them. And then I strongly recommend a Crispin sentence. Crispin is basically whenever you press your bone armor dislocation, it's going to stun them for 2 seconds, and it's going to proc your Crispin sentence. Now, Crispin sentence gives you 300% multiplier when they're stunned, and it gives you a 100% multiplier when they are just simply slowed. And since we have Bane of the Trapped in the build, it puts an aura around you of 15 yards, and it slows them. So everyone will be slowed, because you also do absolutely no damage if there's no targets in your bone armor circle. Now I know you can't see the bone armor circle right now. I can go into a rift for you, and you can see.
Are you strong enough to survive?
That needs to recharge.
So you can see
A well-deserved death.
the bone armor circle, right? Now, I did proc there. Normally you're not going to proc. I switched off my Aquilus, so I don't have quite as enough toughness, and I didn't get up to my 15 stacks. So that's why I recommend the Aquilus. You don't need it once you get your stacks. Then you're going to be pretty freaking tough. You don't need to worry about it too much. But you can see my bone armor circle. Anything in this circle will take 10,000% more damage from all your attacks. 10,000%. That's huge. And that's why the Grim Scythe does so much damage. And then, let's see. What else? I think that's it. I don't think you necessarily need anything else. And so therefore, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what it looks like. So you can see this is a Greater Rift 100, and I'm doing it with the Aquilus. You can see the Aquilus buff down there at the bottom. I only ever lose it for a second whenever I press my Death Nova. And then as soon as I swing my Scythe, I'm right back to having the buff. So you have almost 100% uptime. When you have enemies in your bone armor, that circle around you, you take so much less damage, it's insane. You'll see at some point, I believe I show it, I have like 1.7 billion toughness or something just running around. It'll help out a lot. The build's pretty strong, and you get it very quickly. The phylactery, very easy to gamble for. Very easy to gamble. And this is, again, I'm playing with no ancient weapon. I'm playing with no ancient phylactery. The only ancient pieces that I have, I believe, are the full Inaria set is ancient, and then I have a primal Royal Ring of Grandeur. This is my first video ever, by the way, guys. So if I'm not doing a very good job, bear with me. I'm I'm out here just trying to give you guys some cheese, you know what I mean? So, take it for what it's worth, you know? Just trying to help out, because I didn't know anything about Necro really coming into this. I didn't know what build to run. When we were leveling, I was crushing my Demon Hunter friend. I was corpse exploding everything. Everything was dying. And then, as he got stronger, I just seemed to not progress, because LOD builds, or LOD builds, Legacy of Dream builds, whatever you want to call it, are hard to build quick. But I had an Anaria set, and I had no idea what to run with the Anaria set. So I was just running the same thing I leveled in. I was doing Corpse Explosion, which I did damage up until about Torment 10, and then my damage really dropped off, and I just kept getting real close to dying. Um, and again, I'm playing hardcore, so that was not a very safe thing for me. And then I found this build, and it's just insane. It's super tanky. Look at it go. In this one, I believe I am running a level 101 Trapped, a level 25 Stricken, and a level, I believe it's like 60 on the Simplicity Strength. So one thing about this build that I probably haven't actually mentioned yet is how you deal damage with this. You do almost no damage. Most of the time you can see my essence pull, it's almost always full essence. I do no damage. My simulacrums, that's why you pick Blood and Bone. Blood and Bone gives you 2 simulacrums. They are what do all your damage. So if you read the phylactery, what it does, your simulacrums always benefit from that. Always benefit from you having no essence, basically, because they themselves have no essence pool, so they just get full advantage of that all the time. You yourself, you have to dump your essence to get value out of it, but it's kind of a damage loss to do it, and you don't need to do it. That's kind of the main thing. If you want, you could swap out the Aquilus and put on, I forget the name of those shoulders that give you the Singularity Mage rune. And you can run Singularity Mage instead of Death Nova or instead of the Spike. And that could be your essence dump. But the thing is, like, when there's a bunch of enemies, like right here, you can essence dump and then swing your Scythe one time, you're back to full essence, which is why it's kind of a damage loss. Like single target, it's probably a damage gain to dump your essence, but multi-target, it's not. Your essence just regenerates so fast that you're losing damage. Just position your simulacrums and let them do their thing. They do occasionally die, especially in those fat exploding dudes. They tend to kill your simulacrums. It doesn't happen very often. Just resummon them. And sometimes you'll notice, like when you're trying to fight something, your simulacrum might kind of be, I don't know, maybe 20 yards away or so. Maybe he got knocked back by an enemy. Maybe the AI is just retarded and he stopped swinging, right? Just stop attacking for a second, maybe move your character around a little bit, and he will warp to you. Usually within 1 second of you stop attacking, he will just warp over to your position. Sometimes they're just a little too far, and you just need to wrap your character around the thing that you're attacking to try to position. Like, it's just a little bit of a learning curve. You'll figure it out. And it's going to be exactly the same in the LOD build. So that was a Juggernaut Elite right there, and you can see he went down within a reasonable amount of time, you know. You're not going to be pushing really with this build. But, I mean, this is a GR 100. I'm way ahead of the timer. I think I end up finishing this with 5 minutes left, which is by no means a speed clear, but you can actually push early with this if you'd like. I think top 15 is probably still a 100 clear. I myself have done up to a 110 in this build. So if you want to push with it, you can. No one says you have to switch to the Laud build, but this is something that I just see a lot of people not talking about. The Inarius has a very strong Grim Scythe build. Alright, so you can see you can tank some lasers too in this build. Like, you are indeed pretty tanky. And here we go. Bone Warlock. So roughly once every 15 seconds, you want to hit your Death Nova, you want to hit your Bone Spike, and then and you want to hit your Bone Armor Dislocation, so that way you can keep your 4-stack. And then you're always just spamming Grim Scythe, so that stack's never going anywhere. Alright, so that's the clear. So yeah, you can see my simplicity right there. It's level 62 now. Well, now 64. 65. Okay, let's see. Let's go back. So now I can quickly go over the Laud build. Let's see. Let me find it. So this is what I run solo. So you can see I changed one skill, Skeletal Mage. That's it. Changed one skill. And that is because, like, when I'm running from one mob to another, I'm going to drop a mage on him. And guess what? My essence is now dropped, and I'm going to run up to it. I'm going to hit it. Now I'm doing more damage just for that one swing. I lost no damage. Now on a Rift Guardian without any ads, or even if he just has like 1 or 2 ads, I will probably do the same thing. I will dump my essence right before every poison cycle on the convention elements. Necro, in case you don't know, benefits from conventional elements much more than any other class in the game. Because Necromancer only has 3 elements. They have physical, they have poison, and they have frost. They have 3. Every other class has 4, I believe. So 33% of the time, you are doing 200% more damage. Insane. Okay, so here's my push gear. You can see I do have Primal Tragouls. I don't actually use it, to be honest. My hardcore clear, I used this guy here, which I think might be better than my Primal, but I'm not 100% sure. I was using it more so to test, and happened to have gotten it on my highest clear. I ran the Tragoul Primal on my 120 clear, but on the 122 clear I ran this just to see, and I don't know, I don't see much of a difference. They both seem real strong. Um, when I put on the other Scythe, um, that's when I put the points into Vitality, because this one has no Vitality on it, but my Primal does. And so that's when I made the switch to put 400 points in Vitality. Give me a little bit extra life. And that puts me at, let me put on the other Scythe, 956k. So that felt much more comfortable to me to run 956k on hardcore again, rather than 676. So you can see why I ended up putting 400 points in there. I don't think I needed the full 400. 200 might have been plenty. You can see right here that puts me at 816. That's much more comfortable. I definitely probably could have got away with just doing 300 at 886. 850, 900k is kind of where I really prefer to be. Anything above 850 is where I prefer to be. I just threw in the extra 100 because it made me feel a little bit more comfortable going into a 122 and not knowing how hard it was going to be, right? Anyways, so I run Ice Climbers. You definitely need the Ice Climbers if you plan on running Stone Gauntlets. Stone Gauntlets here you can see increases your armor by 50%, but reduces your movement speed by 15 and attack speed by 20, and it stacks up to 5 times. So what is 20 times 5? That's 100. It'll freeze you in place if you get 5 stacks of that. But these make you immune to freeze and immobilize effects. Perfect. You just get the benefit from this and no negative. It's perfect. And then these were the shoulders that I was talking about that you can put on the Anaria set if you would like instead of the Aquilus. It is extra toughness. You can see every time I use a skeletal mage, it gives me the Gift of Death rune, which basically causes the mage to drop corpses on the ground. That's not really going to benefit you much unless you're running the golem. The golem does require a corpse in order to use him. But what you're really after is that it gives you Singularity rune. And you can see from earlier when I used it, it dropped all my essence. My essence pool is now at 0, which means that's a perfect essence dump. But again, you're only going to be doing it like single target or when you're going from pack to pack. If you're going from this pack to the next pack, drop a mage on your way, your essence is dumped, and then start attacking. And your first few attacks will be hitting much harder. Again, you need the Fang, you need the Ledgers. If you're pushing, you definitely need Stone Gauntlets and Ice Climbers. Depth Diggers, definitely need that. Dainties, you need that. Aquilus, you don't need Aquilus, but I strongly recommend Aquilus. Because what a lot of people are doing is they're using, or I'm sorry, I guess they would be putting Aquilus in the cube, but what a lot of people are doing is they are wearing, oh, what set is that? Let's see, I think the top guy here, Lord Fluffy, is doing it. Yeah. Talrasha. So you can see the Talrasha, it's a wizard chest. You'd have to make a wizard to get this guy, or a wizard friend to get it to you, or just be lucky, whatever. It has attack speed on it. So that's why a lot of people will use this, and then they'll usually put Aquilus in the cube. But what he's doing, this guy's running the golem. So there's a whole lot of different variations. There always are with LOD builds. I personally think that it is much more worth running Aquilus than it is anything else. If you dump your essence, you get the damage reduction from the shoulders. If you're full essence, you get the damage reduction from your chest. You're just always taking roughly 50% damage reduction. Easy enough. And Dariel's Visage, this guy, you don't want to roll a socket on it. You can if you want, if you feel like you need the extra health, or if you can put Vitality on it, again, if you feel like you need the extra health. But this build does not require any CDR, so you don't need to put a diamond gem like you normally would in there. So instead, we just go for damage. So we got Poison, Element, Intellect, Attack Speed, and Crit. Perfect. It's exactly what we want. Haunted Visions. Typically, I would say you want Element, which would be Poison, and then you want Crit. I got lucky and got this bad boy, but not one with Poison. So it's not perfect, but I mean, this is amazing. Your Nems Bracers, you want to use Poison. Let's see, what else do we got here? Convention of Elements. Here I would say that you probably want either area damage or attack speed instead of intellect. And Unity, that's what I'm running for solo. I would say you want crit, or again, you can do crit damage and attack speed, or even crit and attack speed, whatever you want. You can even do area damage instead of the intellect. Let's see, what else do we got? Dainties, you definitely want to make sure you get Grim Scythe damage on it. Same with your pants. So here you might see, again, I have no socket in my pants. People will sometimes look at this and be like, what the heck, sockets are most important, right? You always have sockets in your pants. You don't need it here. You want the 15% damage from your Grim Scythe. I personally wanted the Vitality, and I wanted Intellect, and I wanted Armor. So what I was gonna do before I realized it, I was gonna put 2 sockets on there and put 2 red gems in there for armor. But 2 red gems, 280 does not add up to be 770. So the 770 armor is much more valuable than the 2 sockets with the 2 red gems in it. My Aquilus, you can see it's a dexterity Aquilus, which I use because that's my best one I have, not gonna lie. It's from my Demon Hunter friend. He gave that to me. But dexterity is armor. Dexterity is armor. Look at dexterity the same as you would armor. Dexterity is also the same. Like strength gives armor, so does dexterity. You can see that right here. 701 armor. And I have 701 dexterity. So I put intellect gems in mine because there's no point in putting more red gems when I'm already missing intellect from the gear itself. So yeah, I decided to put my int gems in there. Let's see. There are some other variations. So like this is obviously solo. Let me show you what I got in the cube real quick before I move on to something else. I do run these speed boots in my solo pushes as well. I love that I can just warp around and just be super fast. Eventually I will have to swap that out because I'll be removing Blood Rush completely, and I will instead be putting illusory boots in there. Bam. So I'll be doing that, and I'll be switching out Blood Rush probably for Death Nova, Blighted. So I'll be running that right there. And then I also have my Crispins in the cube, and then I'm wearing Unity and Convention Elements, only because I do not have an Ancient Crispins yet. And then you gotta have the Nair's Black Death in the cube. So, if you are playing with a group, something that I actually like to use, especially if someone else has has NEMS bracers, sometimes I will swap a few things around. And let's see. I will wear my Crispins.
Not enough essence.
And then I will wear, or I'll put Flavor of Time in here. And then go back to, again, like this is kind of the push setup. But if you want to just do like speeds with a group, then right back to the boots. Where are the boots? There we go. And then I would run this again. And where's my blood rush? I personally like potency. A lot of people would use metabolism. Use whatever you want. Doesn't matter. Any of those are fine. I like potency. And then one other thing that I will sometimes run as well is this ring right here, Brig's Wrath. Oh, and then I'll pair that with, if I can find them, with some strong arms, and put my Crispins in here. And then if I'm running with a group and we're doing like high keys and I'm not the RGK, I will sometimes, again because I am playing hardcore, I'll put Esoteric in here. And you can see when I attack things, they will get gripped into me. See that? See how everything just kind of gets sucked into me? So it'll proc these strong arm bracers, give you that 30% multiplier. And just kind of group things for you and your group. Just something nice to have, nothing that you need, but a nice alternative. If you can run whatever you want, doesn't matter. Anyways, I think that's pretty much it, boys. I don't know if there's anything else I've got left to go over. I guess I could show one other thing. Let's see. So if you don't have the luxury of having poison element on your gear, or you're playing a hardcore and you just simply don't even want to run your main gear, something you can do is you can run Stone of Jordan. You can see I have a cold Stone of Jordan, I have a cold Andariel's Visage, I have cold Nems Bracers, and I have cold Haunted Vision. I just said fuck it, let's throw on Stone of Jordan. And look at this. Poison element, 66% poison element, and that is because of the Stone of Jordan. Totally doable. So you can also run Stone of Jordan instead when you're doing groups, and run Crispins in the cube, or vice versa, whatever you want to do. Doesn't matter, again. Anyway, boys, Cheese here, and I'm out. Later, boys.